Okay, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on where in the world you're joining us from. A very warm welcome to all of you for what is now our fifth Pitman Perspective series to wrap up what is essentially quite a long 2020, I'm sure, for all of us. For those of you who may have maybe joining us for the first time or have joined us previously, we have run previous series of webinars with thought leaders within industry, focusing on project management, as well as the personal assistant segment, and of course, technology that affects the office administrative field. And today, I'm very excited to open up our discussion to the virtual assistant space. So for those of you that maybe are joining us for the first time, I'd just like to give you a little bit of flavor of who Pitman Training are and what we do. So at Pitman Training, we're very much focused on training adult learners, particularly those that are in work and of course looking to either upskill their skill sets or look for that promotion, or indeed quite a lot of them want to be starting sort of their own ventures, which is where today's discussion really comes into play. So globally, we've trained over 10,000 students, and we've been operating in Nairobi, Kenya now for just over 2.5 years. And we've trained over, quite a few hundreds of students that have come through our training platforms. We offer training across different segments of a business function. So as you can see there, anything from office and secretarial, and today's discussion on the virtual assistant really ties into that particular stream, all the way through to accounting and bookkeeping, Microsoft Office packages, IT and web and software development, as well as career and development skills as well. We have 250 constantly updated courses. So recently we launched a couple of new fantastic courses on coding, which according to the World Economic Forum is quite an important skill set for a lot of people to learn. So we're very excited about that project, but also we've got 39 accredited diplomas that students can embark on as well. All our studies is done through our innovative learning management system, which means, particularly within a COVID environment, that you can learn from the comfort of your own home. You can learn self-paced with the support of our student support supervisors here in Center in Nairobi, which means that you've got a very flexible, fun, and supportive way of learning as well. And we've been doing this for over 180 years alongside the universities of Cambridge and Oxford. So we have been voted a British super brand for the last 5 years, which is something we're incredibly proud of. So we look forward to welcoming you, those of you who have just joined as well, to the webinar. I'm very excited to now introduce to you our speaker for today, Amanda Johnson. So Amanda, if I just change my screen while we're at it, there we go. So very excited to have Amanda. Amanda, thank you for joining us today. Now, Amanda, if I might say, comes with a very unique blend of background. So Amanda has spent quite a number of years as in the military of the British Army and as an ex-Royal Navy logistics officer. So I think a lot of her students that have trained with her will say that she comes with a very direct style, which I'm sure Amanda's nodding, so yes. I'm not saying anything wrong right there. But of course, also she's been within the VA space for quite a long time. So she set up the virtual assistant training company, VACT, who you'll hear about a little bit more, and has trained a lot of the most successful virtual assistants globally today. So she is the go-to person for a lot of the softer elements that you need in terms of excelling as a VA. So we're very, very excited to have her with us today. And of course, talk to you guys about exactly how you can turn from that middle of the road virtual assistant, probably looking to make that jump to that rock star personal, virtual assistant. So very excited to have Amanda with us. We have received a lot of your questions, so thank you very much. So what we've done is we have amalgamated them into a series of questions that I'll go through with Amanda. And I thoroughly enjoyed our discussions previously with Amanda, so I'm sure a lot of her answers are going to be very clear, transparent, and cut through the noise. So I look forward to that. And a little bit of housekeeping. So we'll run the session, the Q&A session with Amanda for roughly around 35 to 40 minutes. If you do have any questions that do come to mind, please use the Q&A button to raise those questions, and then we'll move on to a Q&A section at the end where we'll try and answer as many questions as we can. And then I'll talk to you a little bit about the training that Pitman Training offer, and a little exciting teaser in terms of what the future will hold in terms of the collaboration that Pitman Training and us and Amanda at VACT will be looking at in 2021. So without further ado, Amanda, as we say in Kenya, karibu sana, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. I don't think I'm going to be able to reply in the same language that you did. I think I'll stick with English, if that's all right. So
Not a problem.
thank you very much for having me. If I can just expand a little tiny bit on that lovely welcome that you did. So my background is I did 23 years in the Royal Navy. I worked my way up from the most junior of the ranks through to being a logistics officer. But actually, my story as a VA started because I had a life-changing event. And I think it would help the audience to know a little bit about that, to actually see that actually the universe can treat us all in slightly different ways. So in 2008, my children died. I had twins that were born extremely prematurely and they passed away. And I did what lots of people do during grief. And that was I went out and spent money. And I never, ever had the opportunity to, or basically I was trying to get hold of tradesmen to do the work. That was the money I'd spent, was on doing the house up and things like that. And I could never, ever get hold of the tradesmen. And I thought, do you know what? These guys need pay-as-you-go admin support. And I actually thought I had created the VA industry because I was sat there on my floor thinking, yeah, do you know what? They need this pay-as-you-go admin support as and when you need it. The reality is I started to do some research into it. I was very lucky. I got voluntary redundancy from the military and I started to do that research and I rung an insurance company, and we'll talk about insurance as we go through this. But I rung an insurance company and said, I want to do this thing. I want to do this pay-as-you-go admin support as and when you need it, etc. And the insurance man said to me, so you're going to be a virtual assistant? And I said, a what? And he said, a virtual assistant. And I said, no, I'm creating this new industry. I'm not going to be a PA. I'm going to do it all virtually. And the guy just laughed at me and he said, Amanda, somebody else has already done it. I was like, oh. And that's the point I started in this industry. So in 2012, I launched my own VA business. And 18 months later, I won my first award, which sits very nicely just above my shoulder. And I then became a licensed trainer for VACT. And 6 months later, I bought the company. And so from 2014, I was a virtual assistant. Well, from 2012, I was VAing. From 2014, I was VAing, actually doing the doing, supporting clients, but at the same time started to coach, train and mentor. In 2016, I sold my doing business and I now literally coach, train and mentor EAs, PAs, admin professionals to help them set up and run their own VA business. And I work with existing VAs to take their business to the next level. And so I hope that throughout this session that I can share some of that knowledge for the audience. And always happy to take questions, always happy to share my knowledge. But you hit the nail on the head. I am known for being honest, direct, straight talking, maybe a little bum kicking at the same time to nudge people on the right path. So I hope that sort of helps people know that you're in safe hands, hopefully, for the next hour.
Fantastic. No, thank you so much for sharing that personal journey that you've been on. I think, you know, the circumstances and creating sort of opportunity out of it is something that a lot of people can indeed relate to. So I think let's get stuck into those questions. So based on you potentially creating the VA space, or almost.
In my dreams, yes.
In your dreams. My first question, which we've seen from a lot of people is, from your perspective, sitting in Europe and of course working with a lot of international clients, as well as you know, virtual assistants and the administrative profession across the board, what are some of the current trends that you see shaping the VA industry today? And do you see any new trends developing that VAs probably need to adapt to as they aspire to move into the VA space? I say this because there's a lot of research and data around how big the outsourcing market's growing. You know, there's some big fundamental, you know, wins to be made. Everyone's looking for that size of the, you know, a piece of the cake. Is it that gold rush that everyone's making it out to be? And what do you see some of those trends shaping it today?
Okay, so I'm going to caveat the first bit with pre-COVID-19 and pre-global pandemic. Yes. The research gave us that pre-COVID, that actually only 2.5% of the global workforce would be working virtually or remotely from the people that they supported by 2025. Now, pre-global pandemic, quite a lot of us would go to our bosses and say, hey, I'd like to work virtually, or can I work from home? And our bosses and our employers and the people we were talking to would say, no, 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 you can't do admin from home. I need you to be outside my office door. I need to be able to get up from my desk and walk and talk to you. And then all of a sudden, COVID-19 hit, the world shut down, and we told everybody to work from home. And all of a sudden, organizations realized they needed to adapt. And they adapted very quickly. Now, if you think organizations like IBM, one of the computer people, their teams already worked from home. A lot of the project management software teams already worked from home, or they had teams in different parts of the world. So the infrastructure was just there. It was whether people were prepared to adopt that infrastructure. And I think what this has given us is, yeah, do you know what? We are going to do it. But there's been a bit of a mindset that people think, well, it's okay, I've been made redundant. And actually, when we get made redundant or we lose our jobs for whatever reason, we go through grief. So it's the reason I share the story about how I ended up as a VA is because of that grief piece. That's what happens when we lose our jobs. We go through grief. And so people seem to think that actually it's okay, I'll set myself up as a VA and I can be rich tomorrow. I can be earning the same income that I was as an employed PA or EA tomorrow. Now, the reality check is, sorry, it's not as quick as that. Yes, you can replicate a really good income, but it's not as quick as just clicking your fingers. We've got to put the work in there. And so the trends haven't changed from the VAs I'm talking to. So people are going into this industry either as a second career, as a career that's here for the next 5 to 10 years, or a career that's, I'm going to call it a hobby business or a side hustle, although I don't really like that phrase, side hustle, but it's going to sit alongside a day job. So perhaps your income has been reduced or your employers have reduced your hours, but you still need a particular level of income. So you think, do you know what? I'm going to set up this business so I've got a second income that's going to sit alongside the day job. And that hasn't changed either. So the trend of the types of VAs that we're seeing come into the marketplace hasn't changed. And I don't think it will change going forwards, because this is all about the individual and what they're trying to achieve. This isn't about somebody else's remit. So that's the first trend, I would say. The next one is people worry about, do they have the skills that they need to be a VA? And they worry about, what will somebody want them to do? Okay. And there are some pieces of research out there. The International Virtual Assistants Association, which is based in America, but it's an international organization. There's an organization called Freelance University. There's a society in the UK called the Society of VAs. They've all done some research about actually what is the thing, technical term, thing, that small businesses or businesses are outsourcing. And do you know what? It hasn't changed. It's still predominantly traditional admin. Yes, some people want technical support. Yes, some people want social media support. But that core skill, traditional admin, diary management, appointments, type-ins, do you know what? That hasn't changed either. And I don't think that will change either. And then I suppose my final trend that I want to sort of share with you, which we're seeing quite a lot, is businesses hire or outsource for the soft skills, knowing that somebody can train for the hard skills. So what do I mean by that? That's your things like knowing your core values, knowing your commitments, your approach to work and things like that. So they're hiring for attitude. So are you a person that can roll your sleeves up and get stuff done? Or are you a person that actually you want the work to just land on your plate and you're going to do what you're given? They don't want that. They want somebody who's proactive and not just reactive. And I think we're seeing that more, but at the same time, we're also seeing the people who have got particular strengths in areas and being able to market those. Does that make sense?
It does. So what you're saying is essentially the trends that we're seeing sort of in the traditional PA space where the role is evolving, the same sort of transferable skills in terms of the administration. We broaden that concept a little bit from the traditional administration, but including things like project management, including things like digital marketing, including things like negotiations, et cetera, et cetera. Some of the softer elements that are beginning to creep into a more exhaustive PA role are still the transferable skills you see coming into the BA space as well, right? So
yes,
those correlating?
Yes, but actually what we're seeing is often what somebody outsources first is the traditional admin, diary. So it's the traditional is what they initially bring somebody in for, but actually it morphs and develops into the way the role is going in the employed space.
Okay, so it's mirroring, but with a lag to a certain extent. Okay. Yeah. Okay, fantastic. And actually, you mentioned side hustle. Just to let you know, in Kenya, we love a side hustle. So even if you're happily employed, everyone will have a side hustle. It's a word we actually love, and it's something.
Do you call it side hustle though? Do people call it side hustle?
I think we do. I think anyone can put some comments in there. I think we do call it side hustle. I think we call it the gig economy. Yeah, but I think it's definitely there within our psyche, within our DNA. We love that.
See, we refer to that as a second income stream, because side hustle can always sometimes feel a bit icky and a bit sort of, oh, are they genuine? Are they paying tax on it? Are they setting up? Is it legal? I'll phrase it that way. So people often see as side hustlers are people doing all the things. Do they have all the things that they need?
Yeah. No, I think here it's definitely above board, but it's more seen as where you have to really hustle,
Yeah.
Talk to people, network yourself, get out there, put yourself out there outside of your comfort zone. So, and we love a little bit of that, don't we? So, so my first question then, outside of the trends, then you mentioned about if someone's looking to now set up as a VA, what foundations would you advise them that need to be in place to ensure they understand what kind of VA they wish to be? Because as you mentioned, it's about them selling their skill set and a service. So how do they actually crystallize that? Because as you said, everyone thinks I can jump in, make a quick buck very, very quickly. But what's your advice to a lot of people you train about articulating that proposition or the value proposition of yourself as a potential VA?
Okay, first one is a mindset shift. It's to stop being the employee and think of yourself as a business owner. So for anybody who's listening, if you've got a notepad and pen, I want you to draw a triangle. And at the top of that triangle, I want you to write the letters CEO, Charlie, Echo, Oscar. And then bottom right of that triangle, I want you to write doer. Now, I'm not sure doer is a real word, but it is in Amanda language. And then bottom left, I want you to write shareholder or finance director. Now, when you're creating your own VA business, you are all three of those roles. And you need to make sure you spend time in all three of those roles. So one of the exercises I quite often get people to do, even as we start out, is to write those three roles on a Post-it note and put them on their computer screen in the shape of a triangle. And every time you sit down at your desk, move the Post-it note to the role that you're fulfilling to the top. And 9 times out of 10, that CEO one is not at the top. Invariably, it's doer. And actually, when you're setting up a VA business, you've got to be the CEO of your business and you've got to put yourself in that mind space. So the biggest one, mindset shifts. That's where we need to go first, because actually virtual assistants generally come from a background of PA, EA, admin professional, and we're used to being what I would describe as being in service. We're used to making sure that our bosses are in the right place at the right time, holding the right piece of paper, knowing who they're going to talk to, wearing the right clothes, and they're ready to do it. We're not used to putting ourselves out there and having to sell ourselves. We so like being behind the scenes. Whereas actually when we're a VA, the only way we're going to go and get our clients is actually to put ourselves out there as the boss of the business. So that can often be a bit of a scary big girl knicker moment. I'm often known for telling people you need to put your big girl knickers on and get out there and start selling yourself and start talking about you.
Amanda's and big girl knickers. I'll quote that.
You'll quote that one. So next time I talk to you, you need to tell me if you had your big girl knicker moments.
Yeah.
So then that leads into, though, what else do you need? Well, you need to know your core values. You need to know what's important to you and what you live your life by. So for me, my core values are everything from in my personal life and they transition across to my business life. So honesty, loyalty, integrity, they're things that I live my life by. But actually, open and clear communication is another one that I like, or I live my life by. So it's knowing that. So once we've got those, what I want us to do is to look at our skills to work out what we're going to sell. So this is, it's an exercise called the 3-list exercise. It's got a really posh title. But what I'd like people to do is, not right now whilst we're live on the call, but after this, is go and look at lots of VA websites, okay? And I want you to have a look at those websites and write a list of the services that the other VA offers that you can do and that you love to do, okay? So initially, list 1, things that you can do and that you love to do. Then I want you to look at those websites and to create a list of the things that they offer that you can do and that you hate doing. So if somebody said it to you, your heart would literally sink. You would sort of sink down in the chair and go, oh, no, go away. So that's list 2. And then the third list is a list of the services that you see other VAs offer that you think, don't know how to do that. Okay, I'll just capture that. I don't know how to do it, or it's not something I want to offer. And then once you've got your 3 lists, we're going to look at them and we're going to go, we'll deal with the easy list first. So list 3 is actually our easy list. If you have got things that other VAs offer that you currently don't know how to do, well, you've got a judgment call to make here. You either need to allocate time, effort, resources, money to learning how to do it, or you need to find somebody else who you can bring into your business to offer it on your behalf. And so for now, we're just going to park that list. We're not going to worry about it. List 1 and list 2 are much, much harder to deal with. List 1 is the list of services that we can do and that we love to do. Well, do you know what? If we can do them and we love them, we are totally going to sell them in our VA business, because actually it's so much easier to sell something you're passionate about. So that leaves that tricky list, list 2, the things that we can do, but we hate doing. Well, I'm going to ask the question, do you hate it because you're currently doing it and not being paid very well for it? But actually, when it's your own business, you're going to set your rates of what you're going to charge. So actually, you might go, didn't like it as an employee, but if somebody's going to pay me X in order to do that task, do you know what? I might suddenly like it. Or you might say, no, actually, I'm still not going to do it, because you may not be motivated by money here. You may be motivated by quality of life or something else. There may be another reason why you're going into the VA world. And then, so that's my 3-list exercise, and that's going to help you work out what you're going to sell. The reason we look at lots of VA websites and not just 1 or 2 is because I want you to look at the language that they use to describe the tasks. So to give you a flavour, if we use transcription, what some people call transcription, other people will call audio typing. And depending on the sector or the industry you want to work with, they're going to use different language. So you want to make sure that when you start selling it, you're using the language that your ideal client is going to be looking for, okay? And I've got one other thing that I want to, or two probably, that I want to share with you, is to look at your other skills. So I'm guessing some of you on here speak more than one language. And do you know what? Languages allow you to work with other, I was going to say other countries. I don't mean the countries on a whole. I mean people or business owners in other countries that need your language skills. So as an example, I had an inquiry today from a business coach who's looking for a virtual assistant, and they had set languages that they need their VA to be able to speak. And so I can go into my community and say, hey, who speaks these languages? And I can introduce them. So languages are always a skill that people can sell and experiences. And then you've got your other sort of softer things. Okay.
Okay, fantastic. So if I can summarize that, the mindset, the core values, and the skills.
Yes.
And within the skills, what can I do? What do I love to do? And what do I absolutely hate to do? But if someone would pay me, then I might end up loving it, right? So doing that exercise. Okay, perfect. So I think we'll definitely share a few more tips after the webinar in terms of how to just map those skill sets as well.
Yeah, sure.
So the second question is around, as a business owner now, you said there is a mindset shift. What are some of the considerations you advise VAs to look at when setting up their businesses? Some things they might not even consider, but are so critical to the success of that business.
Okay. First off, just because you're setting up a VA business, I'm really, really sorry. You don't get to go and buy lots of stationery. Okay. PAs, EAs, VAs, we love stationery. Unfortunately, you now have to do the budget. So actually, you've got to pay for your own stationery. So sorry, stationery catalogue out the window. But you don't need a huge infrastructure to set up your VA business. People think you do, but you don't. So let's start with the basics first off. So computer, internet, telephone, and a web domain specific email address. Now you'll notice I haven't said website, but I have said web domain specific email address. And the reason for that is we are going to be serious business owners. We are going to be serious VAs. And when we do that, we're going to charge decent rates for what the work that we do. And therefore we need to make sure that the image and everything that we're doing is correct and it's right. So if I said to you, oh, send me an email at vact@hotmail.com, you're going to go, is she really genuine? Can she do what she says she can do? I really ought to set that email address up because I quite often use it in webinars and I haven't got it. But if I said to you, send me an email at amanda@vact.co.uk, straight away, because it's a domain specific email address about the company, there's that credibility piece. You start to think, oh yeah, do you know what? She's a serious business owner. So you don't need the website to be up and running. You could have a holding page. You could just not have the website up and running, but the domain specific email addresses add so much more value to your business. Then it's about getting things like your insurance. So I always recommend that you have professional indemnity insurance and public liability insurance. And depending on the clients that you work with will dictate the level of cover that needs to be, okay? The other one is, it's about having contracts. And the contracts are there to protect you and they're there to protect your client. It's not a sort of bureaucracy gone mad or anything like that. It is about protection. Now, I have to be honest, I don't know enough about the laws in Kenya to know about data protection, but wherever you're working, you need to make sure that you understand the data protection laws for your own country and the countries for which you want your clients to be. So, for example, if you're based in Kenya, you would need to have an understanding of the UK's GDPR regulations. Now, do you know what? For me, data protection is just, and there'll be people who shoot me for saying this, it's all about risk management. It's all about due diligence. It's all about not selling secrets and things like that. It's about how you look after data. And I think actually, probably most of us are used to doing that in our day jobs anyway, how we look after company data. So it's about having contracts, understanding data protection. And then the next one is about charging your worth. Okay, so if you set your pricing too cheap, people are going to think you're rubbish. They're going to think you're crap and all of that. Now, the model that I teach in the UK is that the UK averages are between £25 an hour and £35 an hour. I'll let you convert that for me. In the US, it's between $25 an hour and $35 an hour. Now, even though the exchange rates are slightly different from UK to US, the actual number that people are selling their services at is very similar. Across mainland Europe, the rates vary hugely depending on the country. So you need to do some research about what your rates are going to be. But please don't go in cheaper than everybody else, because all you're doing is you're not undervaluing the industry, but you're undervaluing yourself. Because actually, do you know what? You've got skills. And actually, I want you to be proud of those skills and market those skills. And then when you know your rates, you need to think about how you're going to package it. Are you going to sell your time by the ad hoc hour? Or are you going to sell your time in blocks of hours? So a real good model to sell your time is what's called retainer hours. And that's where you sell 10, 20, 30, 40 hours on a retained basis, i.e. somebody pays at the beginning of the month to retain your services throughout the month, and you manage the work. It might be that you want to sell your time in packages. So perhaps, for argument's sake, you're really, really good at social media and you want to sell a social media package, or you want to sell an email marketing packages. There's all sorts of ways, but you need to look at your skills and actually think, okay, if these are my skills and this is the time I've got available, how am I going to position this and sell that to clients? Does that make sense? I realize I was talking with my hands. I'll sit on them.
It makes a lot of sense, and I talk with my hands all the time, so don't worry about it. But just in the comments, guys, let us know if you are a VA, just generally what your average charging here in Kenya is for local companies, or indeed if you're working with international clients. We'll be really interested to see what those benchmarks.
That'd be helpful for me actually to know. Yeah.
Absolutely. And in terms of the legal aspect, we will be running a few other sessions next year now, I think, in terms of just helping local people understand the legal requirements here in Kenya when setting up businesses as well. So we'll cover that topic in definitely a lot more detail. So Amanda, they've got the mindset, they've got the core values, they understand the skill sets, they've got the structure and the GDPR, not as much stationary as when they were employed. They've got their pricing right. Next question is, and this we got a lot of this, is how do I now go out and find my customer? So it's not just about any customer that you can sell to. It's what do successful VAs do to constantly nurture and find those, super customers or those golden prospects?
Okay. Don't come at it from a place of desperation, which sounds really sort of, we all need clients, we all want to work with clients, but when we come at it from a place of desperation, however much we tell ourselves not to, that air of desperation just hangs over us. And do you know what? That was me, January 2013. And I read a book, which is called The Go-Giver by Bob Berg, and it changed my life. And those, I know there's some VAs on this call who already know me and they've heard me talk about that book a lot, but The Go-Giver changed my life, because actually what I did is I stopped coming at trying to get my clients from a place of desperation. Bearing in mind, I had bills to pay, I had a young child, house, I'd just left the military and all of those things. And I went out there and built relationships. And the way you find your super customer and the way you nurture that super customer and the way you get that customer on board is actually through building the relationships. Now, we know on a global basis that the main method for virtual assistants to get their clients is actually through their existing network of connections, so people they already know, through to face-to-face networking, and then social media. And that hasn't changed. That hasn't changed in the global pandemic, because that face-to-face networking has just gone virtual. and it's still one of the primary methods. So I'm maybe a little bit controversial here, but I know that we've talked about this already. I don't recommend sites like Fiverr, People Per Hour, or anything like that. They're good for that short-term income, etc., but you're not going to find your super customer there, because invariably they are the people who are looking for their VAs via that are all based on price. It's just and it's not even a value transaction. They're just trying to get them as cheap as possible. Whereas the reality is your super customer is somebody that you're going to build a relationship with and you're going to work with on the longer term. And actually, this is going to be that two-way flow moving forwards. So a really great way is about having that coherent presence. Now, ideally, having a website is a great way of marketing yourself, but it's not a showstopper if you don't have one on day one. But what I would say is create your social media profiles on the platforms that your ideal client is using. So it may not be that you are the most comfortable with. You might need to learn how to use that platform, but actually it's where your ideal clients are hanging out. So it's important to know who your ideal client is. And so quite often you'll hear people talk about creating an ideal client avatar. And this is where you really get specific in who you're trying to attract. So for argument's sake, let's say you want to work with coaches, trainers, speakers, and consultants who are the primary user of VA services. Well, let's picture one of them. Let's think. So do you want to work with a man or a woman? And I want you to choose one or the other. I know you could work with either, but I want you to choose one or the other. How old is she? We're going to go with a woman. So we'll go with a female coach who's 40. She's got 2 children. Her children are under 10. Her children are 8 and 9. So she's got busy, hands full. She runs a successful coaching practice, but she has to commute there every day to get there. She works with clients on a global basis, and actually she uses Instagram to attract her clients and Facebook groups. So, okay, I then want you to name her. So in our case, we're going to call her Charlotte, okay? Because what I then want you to think about is, well, okay, if Charlotte is using Facebook groups to get her clients and she's using Instagram, which platform are you going to be on? Do you know what? You're going to be on Facebook groups and Instagram. Now, you're going to have that LinkedIn profile as the underpinning, yes, this is the social proof. You can do what you say you can do, but you're going to go and market yourself where your ideal client is. And you're going to be using the language that your ideal client has for their pain points. And so I really want you to get into the head of knowing Charlotte, so that every time you put a social media post out there, you go, oh, would Charlotte react to this? Would Charlotte buy this? And it's just about making sure that you've got that coherency. Okay. Now, LinkedIn is also critical for you. And I'm going to ask if we can share the LinkedIn links just into the chat box for me. I'm sharing with you some of my favorite LinkedIn trainers. Okay, so the first one is a lady called Melanie Dorado, and she runs a company called Top Dog Social Media. And basically, if you go to Melanie Dorado's website, Top Dog Social Media, and you go to her blog and you filter it via LinkedIn, what you will get is, and go back, I don't know, 3 or 4 pages, she has some articles there that will help you to write a really good and powerful LinkedIn profile. Okay, so that's the first one I would do. I'm also going to share with you a guy called John Espiran, who is he's actually a copywriter, but he's got some really good LinkedIn stuff on his website. And then there's a third one, which is just a bonus one. And I can always share those in a second whilst we're chatting.
We are going to share that in a second, so they should come through.
That's all right, thank you. If we've just put them in the chat, that'd be awesome. So there's some of my favorite LinkedIn people. And the big thing with LinkedIn is, yes, this is your LinkedIn profile, but I don't want your LinkedIn to be about you. It needs to be about your ideal client. So Charlotte needs to think, shit, she's talking to me. I know because actually she's mentioned all my pain points. She's done all those things. So it's about making your ideal client, when they read your LinkedIn profile, go, yeah, do you know what? That's me. I also, though, across the social media platforms, want people to use their bio wisely. So what do I mean by that? Ensure they're optimized for who you want to work with and what you want to do. So to give you an example, on your Facebook personal profile, you actually have an about section, which you can hyperlink to your business page. But also the way Facebook's just recently changed, and under its new white layout, I'll call it that, underneath your personal profile, under your banner image and your name, there is a section of free text. So use it, because it means when somebody hovers over your name, they can see what you do. And so this is about helping you to market what it is you do. And as I said, sort of a question or so ago, the primary method for VAs to get their clients is through their existing network of connections. And none of your friends and family want you to fail. They want you to actually do well. So for me, it's about doing things like that. And then on the other platforms, so things like Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, it's about having a business account, which are all free, optimizing the profiles for your keywords that you want to be found for. And then the reason we want them to be the business accounts is because you get the analytics. You can actually see where people are coming from. You can see what people are liking. You can see what it is you're doing. I've just noticed that Anne said she's never got a client from LinkedIn. Do you know what, Anne? I've never got a client from LinkedIn. I've used it for 8 years. But what LinkedIn does is allows you to build the know, like, and trust. And quite often people will check out your LinkedIn profile, perhaps in secret. They will turn it so that it's in secret, because they actually want to see what you can do before they actually have that conversation with you. And so for me, all of your social platforms need to be joined up and coherent. So that's the same headshot on all social platforms, and it's a headshot, not a logo, because people do business with people, and they do it with they know, like, and trust. And so actually by having that nice smiley face, actually what it does is it allows people to get to know you and to see that you're human. Okay, does that help?
That's, yeah, a lot of great insight in there. So actually what you're saying is sites like Upwork or Fiverr, etc., are actually a race to the bottom sometimes in terms of pricing. So you're not going to eke out the value that you want to see. And actually traditional sort of face-to-face, which is now turned virtual, but also your existing network is still the core driver of successful VA business. Okay.
Correct.
That's pretty eye-opening, because everyone has this rush to go to these social sites and put themselves out there and put the profiles in, but actually it's not what you're seeing as a success. No. And you've tied in two questions that I had into one answer when you started talking about the marketing aspect, but which is about building your brand online. So I think those are really sort of key points in terms of the consistency, but actually creating the avatar and knowing exactly where your customer is and who they are is critical in sales process, right? Regardless of whether it's a VA. So I think that's very, very sound information. But now say they've got their super customer and they obviously need to make sure they keep them happy. Mm-hmm. So what are your top tips in terms of making sure you're able to service those clients so they keep coming back to you as, brand ambassadors of your services?
Okay. I'm going to say be the boss. Be the boss in your own business. You're an equal. You're not an employee. They are outsourcing to another business owner. So this is a business owner to business owner transaction. So the way to keep that sort of professional relationship is actually to treat each other as equals. And this client's not your only client. So do you know what? They may be initially, but this isn't going to be your only client. So I want you to actually be serious about your business and have professional structures, standards, processes, all of those things that if you had 5 clients, doesn't matter that you've only today got one, but I want you to have the structure and the processes as if you were bigger. So that's things like boundaries. When do you reply to emails? How quickly you reply to emails? If your client sends you a message at 10 o'clock at night, do you reply? The correct answer is no, you don't. But how many of us do? Yes, guilty as charged. I used to do it. We've all been there and done it. But what I want you to do is to be really professional, to think of yourself as a business and not as a hobby, even if it's a side hustle. Your clients aren't your buddies. They are your clients. They're paying you to deliver a service. So treat your business as the most important thing. And if you treat your business with respect, your clients will treat your business with respect. So take it seriously, be timely with your communications, your contracts, your invoices, all of those things. But when you've got more than one client, managing more than one client is no different to when we're employed and we've got multiple calls on our time. Or managing multiple people. The average PA or EA is managing more than one person anyway. And so people say to me, well, how can I manage them when they're virtual? Do you know what? It's no different. Be output focused, be deadlines focused, and communication is key. Take the time to build that relationship and have really good communication skills. And that's how you keep your relationships professional. And it's nothing surprising there, to be fair.
No, indeed, it's going back to the basics and the fundamentals in any job.
Yep.
Okay, so the other question now is based around scalability. So if someone has sort of put in the hard work in laying the foundations, as you've said, around the mindset, the core values, the right pricing structure, knowing your customer, making sure you're marketing yourself on the right channels where your customers are, and you're beginning to see success because you're, hitting those deadlines, you're communicating effectively, and now you're beginning to think, wow, this could really take off after maybe 12 months of solid work,
Yeah.
What is your advice for VA starting up now to consider to put into foundations so that scalability and growth become easier, or they're also maybe thinking about the considerations now before they get into a place where actually they can't cope?
Okay. So first off, it's back to that triangle. It's back to my CEO triangle and making sure you put time aside to be in each role and knowing actually what it is we're trying to achieve. So one of the exercises I get people to do when I work with them is know what your 10-year goal is, know what your 5-year goal is, know what your 3-year goal is, know what your 12 months from today goal is. And I want you to start out there at the 10 years and not try and put reality on it, not try and put realism on it, but just literally sit there and go, okay, what would I really like life to look like? Where do I want to be living? How many children do I want to have? If I've got children, how old will they be? So for example, I have a 10-year goal, and I said this to my husband one day, and he said, well, I've got a 9-year goal. I was like, 9 years? Who on earth has a 9-year goal? But it was all tied into age for him, and that's fine. But it's about knowing what it is you want in life. And then actually what I want you to do is to go and create it. Now, you hit the nail on the head. It takes time to build a business. So I want you to go, okay, where do I want to be in 10 years? Where do I want to be in 5 years? Where do I want to be in 3 years? Where do I want to be 12 months from today? Because actually your 5-year goal, your 3-year goal, your 5-year goal needs to be moving you towards that 10-year goal. And then ultimately our 12-month goal is where we're going to be 12 months from today. And it needs to be moving us towards that 3 and that 5 and that 10-year goal. So once you've gone, well, do you know what, Amanda, 12 months from today, I'd like to be fully self-employed, half a dozen clients, earning X. Well, what I'm going to say to you is it's going to take you those 12 months, and I'd like you to break down the year into 90-day segments. And funny old thing, 90 days are 4 quarters, and a year breaks up quite nicely into that. So what I would say to you is break the year down to 90-day segments, and then once you've done that, work out what you need to do. So you literally build on it. So perhaps, so today is the 3rd of December, but 90 days, January, February, March. So what do you need to do by the 3rd of March? What do you need to do by the 3rd of June? What do you then need to do by the 3rd of September? And instead of trying to get to that 12-month goal tomorrow, take the year to get there. So generally, I say to people, don't give up the day job whilst you're building the business. Run the two side by side, but set the business up properly, have the right mindset, and then know at what point you need to start bringing other strands into your business. So whether that's bringing in a team, whether that's upskilling, whether that's increasing your pricing, whether it's tweaking your social media presence, your profiles, and just start to factor that into that 12-month goal. And then the other bit I'm going to say is be the best you can afford, which sounds a bit sort of, well, what do you mean be the best you can afford? Well, do you know what? Your business is going to grow with you. This isn't a do once, forget about it tomorrow. You can veer and haul, you can change it. So if at the moment you can only support a couple of clients because you need to keep the day job, that's fine. Just build it and know what you're working towards. So when I sat there on my living room floor and decided I wanted to be a VA, I knew that I wanted to, I knew that I either wanted to become a trainer or to franchise my business. I didn't know which I wanted, but I knew that within 5 years, that's what I wanted to do. Now, the reality is I never set out to be a trainer by 18 months, but it happened. But hey, that's what a goal is for. It's about putting the steps in place. And that's what I'm saying to people now, is if you want to scale and grow, know what the long-term vision is and build it and work your way to it.
Fantastic. So definitely have a plan and know when you need to call in for help to build that dream.
Absolutely. And it's a real sort of important sort of take it from there sort of place, and know that you can't do this alone. This is actually, it's a partnership. It's a two-way thing. Your family, your friends, they need to be on side and help you as well and support you.
Okay. Well, time has absolutely flown, Amanda, when you're having fun. I think we've gone through sort of 50 minutes already. So maybe to summarize, Amanda, I know you prepared a slide for us. I'm just going to pull that up. Your summary to the guys on, just in terms of sort of your top 10 tips to become that. Sorry, we're having a bit of an issue. I will move this around.
Do you want me to start talking about them?
You can indeed, yeah.
Yeah. So for me, these are my 10 top tips for success. There is nothing on this slide that anybody should be surprised with. It's about knowing your core values and living life by them. It's about charging your worth, focusing on the outputs. So think about your bigger goal, what it is you're working towards, that 10-year goal, that 5-year goal, that 3-year goal. But actually also when you're supporting your clients, focus on the outputs. Always, communication is critical. Building those relationships and having good communication skills. As PAs and EAs, we do that anyway, okay? It's just a little bit more heightened when you're a VA because you're not sat in the same room with a client. And so we have to make sure that we're understanding the messages. And this is why Zoom is great. I used to hold Zoom calls or Skype calls with my clients because I could see their face-to-face reactions. I could see if I was saying something that they really didn't understand. And that's all part of that relationship building and communication. Always be learning and embrace technology. And I think this is a great one actually for doing something with Pitman's about, because actually we can always be learning and there is so much opportunity out there to add new skills. But don't think you have to go out there tomorrow and learn every piece of software or everything, because actually know what's right for you and build upon that. I also want you to market your business daily. So whether you're talking to somebody in the supermarket queue or whether you're on Twitter, I would say one of my thoughts is with things like Twitter, please don't share religion, politics, be polarizing. Instead, what I'd like you to be on any of the social media platforms is be likable. Get it so that people get to know you and to like you. I've shared my famous CEO triangle with you. Be the CEO of your business every day. Do the post-it note exercise and see how often you move them around your screen. Because I know for the vast majority of people, doer will sit at the top. And when you see doer at the top after a couple of days, I want you all to think of me and think, sugar, Amanda will tell me off. And then ultimately in business, this is about you. This is about you and being awesome. And some people say to me, oh, Amanda, awesome's an overused word. It doesn't mean anything. Actually, for me, awesome, when we live our lives by it and when we're true to ourselves and true to what it is we're trying to achieve for us and our families, that 10-year goal piece again. Do you know what? I just want you to be true to yourselves. And so, yeah, that's my 10 top tips for success.
Thank you very much. And you've also been kind enough to share a document which we will share with our attendees, which is the top tips from the successful VAs that you've interviewed, so their personal experiences. And I think that's a fantastic document just to sort of leverage on what you've already spoken about in terms of real life examples. So we will be sharing that with the attendees after the call. Okay, so I'm conscious of time and I want to make sure we go through to maybe at least a couple of questions from the team. So we do have maybe a question. I think we've got one from Grace who said, I'm just starting out, I'd like to know how to get clients. I think we discussed that already. But if you do need more information, we've got Amanda's contact details, which we'll share with you at the end of the call. So you can always reach out to her if you need some support on that. Interesting question from Angela. In Africa, where are we embracing virtual assistants? Would you know what the general mindset is? A very good question. So Amanda, is the mindset generally deviating from different markets, or are some markets, do you think, struggling on the uptake for the services versus others? Or actually, because it's such a globalized, interconnected segment, actually, does it even matter?
It doesn't matter. This is more about individuals and how they market themselves and how they look and who they engage with. So no, it doesn't matter where you are. I think 12 months or so ago, people would have a belief that, oh, well, there's no face-to-face networking where I am, etc. And actually, do you know what? That's why that existing network of connections is the important bit, as is the social media and having that presence. So it's about knowing who you are, what it is you do and how you can help and how you can market that. So to give people a flavor, I once looked after a client. Her marketing team were in Thailand. The client was in Barbados and I was in the UK. Now, we used to have team meetings at 11 p.m. UK, 6 a.m. Thailand and 5 p.m. Barbados, because that's the time it suited the client. But we were diverse, we were very different, we were in different time zones. You can create your business to meet your needs and it doesn't matter where you are in the world. Okay, so there's clearly success where you could be in Kenya as a VA, but through your networks, you could foster relationships that are outside of Kenya. So you're not always restricted to your geographical remit. Totally not. Yeah. Good. Well, I'm sure there'll be a lot more questions coming through, but if you do have any further questions, by all means, send them through to us and we'll leave our contact details shortly or direct them to Amanda and you'll have her contact details as well at the end. But I just wanted to take a little bit of time just before we shoot off, just to talk to you about the Pitman Training Virtual Assistant Diploma. So this is something that we do offer to the market here specifically. And within the diploma, you could probably, as you can see on the slide there, learn the technical skills that you would need to support that growth of that business in 5 weeks full-time or 130 hours flexi study, depending on how much time you're able to devote. So the things we're able to teach you around core courses are, the essentials of becoming a VA. So what is involved in running and setting up your own business? So very much what Amanda sort of spoke about. We also talk about marketing essentials, so understanding how to develop that marketing plan, how to create that persona, how websites are designed to market the company, and just effective advertising across, content creation and, that consistency that Amanda also talked about.
We teach you around how to set up, your accounts and your business accounts as well, because that's an important aspect of you being an entrepreneur and a business owner. And also talk to you about laws around business structure and regulatory requirements. And specifically, we will be running sessions devoted to the Kenyan market, so you guys can understand what is required locally. Project management is, again, something that we feel is pretty important, particularly if you're taking on larger type of roles within VA as you expand from more tactical sort of tasks, but of course a fundamental skill set that even PAs today are sort of embracing and developing. And then we teach you about sort of online communication. So not just about sort of how to communicate, but the tools that you use to communicate and how you can communicate effectively to the different audiences. And if for whatever reason you're looking to set up that website, we also teach you how to set that up using WordPress, one of the fundamental tools out there to use, and it's very simple, very easy. And again, from a costing perspective, as Amanda said, you don't have to go through an arm and a leg to outsource a lot of these things. You could probably learn them yourself and go through that. And of course, social media. So we allow you to choose 4 courses that talk to you about, as Amanda said, for where the customers are. So if it's LinkedIn, if it's Facebook, or if it's creating that blog and creating content that people get aware of what you're offering, then of course that is available to you. So for Christmas, or in the run up to Christmas, we will be sharing some exciting deals on the virtual assistant diploma. So keep an eye out for it, or like us on Facebook, social media, and join up to our mailing list. So we will be sharing some exciting news there. Also, just to let you know, if you feel you want to just get a taster of some of our courses, then the VA Essentials course is actually a Black Friday offer right now at 70% off. It actually runs out tomorrow. So we'll share with you the link to the landing page where you can actually purchase that course and get started if you want already, because time is of the essence, as Amanda said, and there's no better time to start if you're already thinking about it. One of the other exciting things that we are looking at with Amanda is definitely tying up to some of her softer elements of training to supplement what we're doing on the virtual assistant. So we're in communication at the moment, and we're probably going to open up a more exciting space of training for the Kenyan market with, as you can see, one of the world's leading authorities on the VA space, who almost invented the industry, right? So we really look forward to kind of sharing with you details around that as well. But overall, guys, thank you very much for joining us today. Amanda, thank you very much for your time and your wisdom. As we say in Kenya, asante sana. You can definitely pick that up for later. If you want to reach us about the Virtual Assistant Diploma or indeed the VA Essentials course, then please contact us using these details below. And alternatively, if you want to contact Amanda, which I'm sure a lot of you may want to, she's kindly availed her email address, but also I think she prefers Twitter as well, and she's very active on there. And Kenyans love Twitter, so by all means, you can reach out to her there as well. Amanda, any final words from yourself before we close?
No, thank you very much for having me. If I know a couple of people have said some of the links aren't working, if you message me, I'll happily ping you the relevant links, etc. Hopefully the last one I've just shared will work for people. But I've really enjoyed sharing my knowledge. If anybody wants to reach out, connect with me on any of the social media platforms, I'm always delighted to do so.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your time, as I'm sure our attendees do. And I think it's already that we're in December, so maybe a lot of us won't speak for a long time, maybe until the next year. So Amanda, I do wish you a very Merry Christmas. Stay safe with all the COVID situation happening. Hopefully you can get that vaccine soon as well.
And hopefully the rain will stop as well. So I am very jealous.
I won't tell you that it's nice and sunny here in Kenya.
No, don't tell me that. I'll cry.
And a very warm festive wishes to all our attendees and many of you that have been joining us on the Pitman Perspective series. We hope you stay safe, have a blessed holiday period, and look forward to then engaging with you further in the new year. But our contact details are there. Reach out to us if you want to in the run up to Christmas around the deals. Thank you so much.